You're listening to Honey and Hustle, a video podcast that inspires the dreamers, creators, and hustlers to make a business from their passions. I'm Angela Hollowell, and I'm a visual storyteller based in Durham, North Carolina. I sit down with creative entrepreneurs, nonprofit founders, and small business owners as they share their stories, the lessons they've learned throughout their careers, and how they've worked to make a positive impact. Hey everyone, we are filming season 3 of the Honey and Hustle podcast live at the Durham Bottling Co. right in downtown Durham. We're about to get into a great conversation, but before we do that, I'd really appreciate it if you take a moment to share this episode with someone who you think might get some value from it. Feel free to tag me on the podcast on social media, and I'll be sure to put those links on the video and in the description below. If you're listening to the show, please consider leaving us a review on Podchaser, Apple Podcast, or Spotify. It helps others find the show and lets me know how I'm doing at this video podcast thing. If you'd like to support the show, be sure to check out our affiliate links, shop our merch, and subscribe to the Honey Pot newsletter and this YouTube channel, all at the links in the description. Without further ado, let's get into it. Okay, and Alex and Bethany, who, if you've been binge watching this show, first of all, thank you. But they're also incredible musicians and artists, and Azul is also a musician and artist, living here in Raleigh currently, originally from Argentina. And so I don't want to tell your whole story. I feel like that's why you're here. I do kind of want to...
I would love to see you try.
No. But I do kind of just want to, for people who maybe just want a soft introduction to who you are and how you came to be Azul, both as a person and as a self-titled music artist, I would love to just kind of share what that has been like, going from being from Argentina to being in Charlotte to being here in Raleigh now.
Yeah, thank you, Angela, for having me. Yes, I'm originally from Argentina. I was born in what's called the southern cone of Argentina, so Patagonia region, in this a city called Bariloche, and I lived there till I was about 3, 4. Moved to the States, mostly Virginia, North Carolina, and on the southern East Coast, all that, and went to middle school through high school in this teeny tiny little town in western North Carolina called Statesville, North Carolina, Iredell County. It was fun, but I feel like as hard as I tried, I was never going to work there, you know? I was I want to make friends, I want to make connections, but I ultimately feel I'm not going to work here. So I would escape to Charlotte all the time with my family. I grew up singing and dancing and playing a shit ton of sports. Oh, I'm allowed to cuss?
Yeah, you're fine.
Okay, I just forgot. I meant to ask that at the top. So I would escape to Charlotte all the time. So I have a huge community in Charlotte, North Carolina, and then I went to school at UNC, Chapel Hill, for international studies and journalism. And then I thought I was gonna go into the journalism startup world, and I was gonna be awesome, whatever, and I didn't get a single job that I applied for, and this was in 2014, and I was like, fuck it, I'm leaving the country, and so I decided to go be an au pair in France. And that experience, I had been kind of nailing it into my head that I had to be a young professional. I had to be someone doing something in the corporate world, or a job that people would quote unquote understand. But then while in France, I wasn't in school anymore. I mean, I was taking community college classes over there because I was there on a student visa, and I was living with a family and taking care of the kids and all that stuff. But at nighttime, I was Batman. I was during the day, I'm Bruce Wayne, go to school, take care of the kids, be a glorified chauffeur, just being my wacky, dorky self. And then at night, after I finished cooking the meal and eating a little bit with the family, I would catch my 2 buses and a tram into the center part of the town that I was in, which is called Grenoble. And that's when I would be in the underground art scene. I was, I think I hit almost every single target. I was friends with all the hip hop folks, so like R&B, definitely with like the gypsy jazz and like, just the indie jammy kind of rock folks as well. And like, by the end of it, I did have like a band. It was called the Blue Summer Band because we met in the summer, and my name means blue in Spanish. And we did a show, but it was like that year was the first time I gave myself permission to be 100% creative and like not pretend that I really, really, really wanted to have this like very conventional job. And so it shifted my focus a little bit. I started writing more in a serious way, and I started like opening up my heart and my mind to people that wanted to collaborate with me in a very healthy way versus like a competitive way that I knew from before. And I got validation in a way that like, oh, these people don't know me and they think that I'm good. Which, as confident as I might come across, I still seek validation from, my peers in the music, world. And then when I came back from that, I was, pretty, changed by that. And I came in, I said, okay, my goal is I'm going to work jobs that will feed and invest my music, which I feel like is a lot of what creatives start to do. They're like, okay, this service industry job, this sales job, this like whatever job, whatever will feed into my music. And it takes so much like mental, physical, emotional stamina to get through that. Do you know anything about that?
I don't think so.
No, I feel like this. I'm just like speaking to someone who could have no idea what I'm talking about.
I go to work on Monday, so I don't really know. I work in a boring office cubicle.
I know. Weird. It's just crazy. So like, I mean, that is what it is. Like that pipeline of like, I have this dream, I have this will, I have this need to do this thing, and then. Okay, but I still gotta pay my bills.
Exactly.
Because like other people aren't gonna do that for me.
No.
I got school debt. Whatever, life happens, and so I just did that. I did that for maybe like 4 years, and then I started to kind of use the skills that I had gotten in some of these random jobs and started to apply them to things that were in the more creative field. So I work with a company called Drum Team Collective, and it started up by my buddy Mike McKee, and it's rock and roll team building. So I would use like my personality and my sales skills to like, and I still do this, but like outreach and finding gigs and like helping facilitate. And I was, ecstatic to do that. Alongside, I was no longer in a duo with my writing partner, Lauren Petto. And we kind of like broke up in 2018, but still friends. And I started doing everything on my own. And that was when I decided just to be. I had a couple iterations of like, I am Azul, but with a Z at the end, or I am AZLZ, or I was just trying to figure, for like 2018, I was figuring out like what I wanted to do until finally I was like, fuck it. I'm just going to be Azul. And like, older people want me to be Azul Zapata, but Azul Zapata, like, no one calls me that. Like, that is my government name. Like, people have a connotation with like Zapata, and like they're like, does that mean shoe? Like, I don't want to be talking about that for the rest of my life or the rest of my career. So I'm like, no, my name is not Blue Shoe. I'm gonna look directly into camera. My name's not Blue Shoe. It's not. It is blue, but it's not shoe. So I want to just drop it. So I became just Azul, and like all caps, like Azul, because I was like, I can stand by this. And I was writing stuff, and I was creating a band. 4 years. What year is it?
It is 2022.
Yeah. So 4 years later.
I still forget. It doesn't feel, it's still a new year.
I wrote 2020 on something the other day. And Erica had to be like, you need to scratch that out. And I was like, my bad. I don't know what day it is.
We're just existing at this point.
So that is the quick and dirty like synopsis of the last 8 years of my life.
So what was that transition like from being in a writing duo to where you had somebody to bounce ideas off of to being a solo songwriter and performer? So, quote unquote solo performer. You still perform with a band and different versions of a band.
But it's all uniquely me. Different because I, like, on a music standpoint, it was an incredible experience to play music, and like it was a genre that I didn't know a whole lot about. It was more like indie synth pop rock kind of thing. Mm-hmm. Think like Radiohead with a little bit Florence and the Machines. Okay. Like with a little bit of what's the local band? They live in Chapel Hill, Carborough. Everybody loves them. Sylvanessa.
Yes. They're Durham.
Durham. Yes, Sylvanessa, so like those kind of vibes, and as much as I love to listen to that music, I'd never like push myself to make that kind of music. And then with my writing partner, she's an incredible musician, arranger, like ideas coming out of her head all the fucking time. Mm-hmm. Like it's so natural. And so I would use my voice, so like I did all the vocal melodies, I wrote all the lyrics, mm-hmm. and we would work back and forth, and that was extremely gratifying and fruitful, and we put out an album, but I learned a lot about how to promote yourself, how not to promote yourself, like all of the ins and outs and organizations of things, and I learned how I want things to be run, like as a musician. And then I finally, again, it's like another thing where like I gave myself permission. I was like, I don't actually need anybody to do and make the music that I want to make. Right. And that's like a big thing. Yeah. So after, Fluorescence, that was the band's name, we, went our separate ways. Lauren went out to do like a hell of a career with, like, she's still doing amazing stuff. And I was doing it on my own. I built my own band around me, mostly with friends, and like, that original band does not exist anymore, but like elements of it still exist. It exists some of the arrangements, but now I really do feel like I have the team around me, mm-hmm. of people who want to work with me actively and listen well, and like all of those fun things. So it's like I got to finally step into the role of band leader, mm-hmm. and not person to the side, or one of many, or whatever, like right. Being the band leader, being the main front person, that's been it's hard as fuck, and you have to manage so many things, but that's the difference.
You touched on two things that I really want to dive deeper into, and one of them, just off the last thing that you said, was like how you kind of stepped into that role, and you were able to step into that more fully because you have a team of people around you, mm-hmm. right? And we've seen in the public space a lot of female or women presenting musicians and artists have really, really, really struggled with building a team of people that allowed them to produce and create and perform and promote in a way that feels right to them and feels good to them. Absolutely. And feels natural and safe. Mm-hmm. Megan Thee Stallion, Ariana Grande, Chica complains about it all the time. I mean,
I'm not allowed to talk about Chica.
Yeah, we're not allowed. It's Alabama. I can talk about Chica, but I'm not going to do that because she's not on the show. But Chica's watching this and she wants to come on the show. We can talk about it.
We can talk about it. I won't be in the area.
We can talk about that.
I feel like we'll either fight or love each other. Yeah. Most likely fight.
Yeah. But a lot of people I've talked about, how it took a couple iterations to get to where they are. Cash Doll, even, mm-hmm. out of, I think she's out of Detroit. So a lot of women have had to go through many iterations of a team, many iterations of what their live performance looks like, what their promotion stuff looks like, what type of avenues they go through to promote. Like, mm-hmm. even now, you're on a podcast, but Ari Lennox recently had issues with being on a podcast and trying to reach that new audience in Africa and stuff like that. So it's kind of like, okay, like there's a lot of avenues you can take to find your people, find your audience, find, your lovers and your fans. And there's a lot of ways that can really just burn you out and really not present you in the way that you want, or present you and your music in the way that you want.
Yeah.
So what are some things that you learned in promoting yourself early on that you kind of have taken into this new EP that you released and wanted to self-promote?
So I am a big believer that if it doesn't feel right, it won't work. And also I will, 100% will choose and prefer to work with female presenting artists, folks, people, queer folks, people, and POC folks, people, before I consider other people. And so all of my photos, my art, everything has all been touched by basically only either queer folks, all the people that I mentioned before. I don't know, so many things, but it has only been that, and I'm very vocal about it. Like you did Magic, and you did Sleeps, and we've done other projects and different things together. You're wearing my shirt right now, so
buy this shirt.
It's very cute. And all of my other stuff has been, local POC, non-binary, whatever, everything under that umbrella, because it is so important to me that that's part of who I am. I feel like I've even in my other musical entities, I'm typically the only, I hit a lot of things in the Venn diagram, like queer, immigrant, female, a couple other things, but I'm not going to go into that. But I fit a lot of Venn diagrams, and then sometimes I go into another music space that's not the one that I create, and I am the only person that represents any of those things, and I'm just surrounded by straight white men, or I'm surrounded by just straight men in general, and I love my bubble so much, and I want to continue to build and create the community around me, and I've definitely learned that. I've also learned that, sometimes as much as you want to work with someone and they are part of your community, doesn't mean that they're the best fit. And sometimes you have to go with God, go with grace, and that's okay too. Because everyone's on their own. I hate to say on their own journey, but everyone is on their own journey. They are. So you can't push it, you can't force it. And then giving people the space to be loyal and active to you. I tend to be one of those people that I don't ever want to ask too much of someone, so I will back off. Or I'll be like, oh, but if you don't want to do it, you don't have to do it, blah, 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 blah.
What in the women is this? If you want to, if you have time.
If you want to, if you have time, but I would really appreciate it. And I've shifted that to being hey, I need this. Do you have the bandwidth to do this? If not, no problem. I'm going to go somewhere else. No biggie. I am not beholden to anybody, and nobody is beholden to me. I don't owe anybody anything. Nobody owes me anything. Any type of creative business contract that I come into with someone, it's because we both want to be there.
Exactly.
And that is the most important thing that I've learned in the last 4 years. Because it is so hard to make sustainable, creative choices when you can't trust the people around you.
Right. Because you don't know who's going to be there to see it through. You know what I'm saying? A lot of things in terms of creating and having a career, they're not oh, we're going to do this one thing and it's going to pop off tomorrow, and then it's going to...
It's a day in, day out hustle, brain energy power, and sometimes you just get fucking tired and you need someone on your side to be hey, I recognize the work that you're doing and I can help you pick up the slack a little better, whatever. And that's necessary. I feel you do that for me sometimes, and I do that for you sometimes, where it's just it's okay. It's okay.
Azul gets my ass together. She'll be girl, don't you, not today.
I do.
We are not stressy and depressy today. No, ma'am.
Or I'll be if you need to be, you be it.
Yeah.
You need to be, you do what you need to do, and then on that third day we ride.
Oh my goodness.
That is a deep cut quote from Beyonce, if anybody knows that one.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
But like, so going back to just the music industry as a whole, I feel like is one of the preeminent, most prominent artistic creator careers that people know the most about how that business works. And they don't know about how that business works because things go well. They know about it because artists talk about, well, I signed a 360 deal, or I signed a bad deal, or I had, unfortunately, an abusive manager, or a manipulative manager, or I had just not the right people around me. So I was talented, I was creative, but I wasn't managing my money well, I wasn't managing my time well, I wasn't finding the balance between like being an artist and like being a person. So like having that space where you can just like be who you are without cameras watching, without people watching, and be who you are like in front of people when people are watching, and when you just go out and navigate regular life. And why I think people are like, oh, when you say like, oh, I want to be a music artist, I want to be any type of creator, people are like, oh, well, only a certain percent of people actually make it. There hasn't really been a talk about, like, there are people who are, like, middle-class citizens who are music artists. And that's a career. That's so valid. That just because you're not, like, a Kendrick Lamar or, an Adele doesn't mean that you're not making money. Doesn't mean that you're not having fun and finding fulfillment and having a life that you want, doing the things that you want to do. And I think that's what has been missing, what I love seeing coming into the conversation now, as we call it, like the creator economy, and what that actually looks like. So there's people that there's not these two ends of the spectrum where you're either starving or you're a millionaire, but there's a lot of space in the middle for you to have a good life and create what you want on your own terms, with a lot of autonomy, with a lot of freedom, and with a lot of fun, and fun that isn't just like, I'm doing this because I have to and there's no other way, but I'm doing this because I am good at it, and I'm doing it because I enjoy it, and I'm doing it because it allows me to have the life that I want with the people that I love. And so for you right now, still being fairly early into being you, being Azul, and really pursuing that career, and putting a team around you and a band around you that can help you deliver different experiences and a different musical style that is unique to you in this space, like what has that been like, and what do you see that looking like going forward for you and for other artists? Because I don't know, I feel like I'm rambling on in this question.
I love it. This is like we're actually recording the conversations that we have like outside, and I'm like, yeah. But I just need some like cheese or something. I'd be like,
but like Lil Nas X, he did like an Apple Music interview with Zane Lowe, who I love. You guys should watch it. I'll link it in the description if you guys want to check that out. Love Zane Lowe and how he interviews artists after they put out an album. And so this is what I feel like I'm doing now that you put out an EP. Like I'm like, so
let's get into it.
So like tell me about But one thing that Lil Nas X said in that, because he's openly gay, he's one of the as a black man, like premier eminent like openly gay people, artists out right now internationally, not just in America.
No, all over the place,
And he was asking him, well, like, what do you think it means that you are, this gay man, and you're so big, and you're so vocal, and you're so out and out there in the space? And he was like, well, I think I was really appreciative that he clarified, like, gay people have always been creating great. I mean, come on, we have whole cultures of Vogue and drag and
beyond that, what do you think, like he's toxic, but like Oliver Wilde, but like the Greeks, the Romans, like all of that culture is based off of the fact that there was no heteronormativity in the space, because when you create restrictions, you ostracize and you force people to be in their own little communities, and that's where the culture comes from, these like communities, and then it starts to permeate out. Like we've existed
far before.
For ages and ages and ages. But Lil Nas X is 100% right. When you force people into corners, they're going to create diamonds. And like they're going to create these things, and then it becomes part of everything.
Yeah, and I think he even touched on who's someone else who I feel like doesn't get a lot of credit, which is Santana. Big Frida, people like that who have,
Frida.
Oh man, I feel so bad for her. But like, people who are like culture creators, and like her work has been exploited and they've been kind of erased.
We would not have Lizzo without Big Frida.
Exactly, 1000%. 1,000%.
Yeah.
You know, people like that who have been in, have their own little cult following, if you will, but that are excluded from the popular space. A lot of people didn't know who Big Freedia was until Beyonce used her voice and didn't include her on the video, until Drake used her voice and didn't include her on the video, but included like every other woman you could, whatever.
Yeah. This is going to slowly become to be like, well, this happened and this happened.
But it's just like, you know, but it is such an erasure of queer people in the popular space, and I'm glad that Lil Nas X was like, no, like we've always been here. I am not the first, and I really hope that I am not the last, and I'm working towards not being the last. And so what do you feel like, as someone who is kind of coming up in a space where now, and JoJo Siwa is also a really big pop star who is, you know, Gen Z, y'all got a winner, I guess. And so, you know, like, but people who are coming up who are just like, yo, like, yeah, I don't really care what you say. You know what I'm saying?
I mean, I think Olivia Rodrigo is the same way. Like, when you and I were younger and like someone was singing, like a young girl singing like angsty songs would have never been taken seriously in the same way. And now we're like, oh no, she has her aesthetic, she has her voice. You can, you know, be like, oh, she's not in chart. No, she's fucking not. So like there's so many things, but I think for me personally, yes, I'm coming up, but the door behind me is always open.
Yes.
Like the door in front of me, there may be a couple that I have to smash through or like whatever and like beat up the bouncer, but the door behind me is always open. Like there's a girl that I met when I was working at a garden center. Her name is Tanya. And she, you know, she's also a great guitarist and vocalist and all this stuff, and she's Mexican. And, you know, she asked me to look at a contract that she got, and I looked at it and I was like, no, I'm so sorry. I wish that I could tell you this is the dream deal, but it is not. Let's go for something better. And like we still need to have more conversations of like, as a musician in the space, as an artist, as a creator, it's not that you have to know what your ultimate end goal is, because nobody knows what that is, but you have to know at least like a couple core tenets of what you want. And like, do you want to make music? Do you want to be a studio rat? Do you want to be in that creative zone all that time? Cool. Let's find the money to make sure that experience is the best. For me, I have to perform. Like, I haven't performed since December 10th, and I feel like a shell of a human because I live on the stage. And
for context, real quick, this is February 12th that we're filming this. Oh, 2 months.
That's a very long time for me to go without being on a stage or performing or interacting or like singing and like, you know, that it's a very long time for me. Most people will be like, oh yeah, she took a little, you know, holiday break like everybody else takes a break. And I'm like, no, it's not the same. But anyways, so one of my core tenets is like I need to be able to perform once a month at least.
Right.
I need to be able to, you know, create or have like my alone time and like, you know, I'm not a like hit the studio constantly type of person. Right. But like once every 3 months, once every 6 months, you know, working on something, having something that I can refer to, that kind of stuff. And then also one of the things that I want to do is to continue creating, like connecting and growing the community of people around me, which is, you know, working with you, working with Waking April, working with like any of the hundreds of thousands of people that are in North Carolina or like in the Triangle area, because I feel like I am, you know, don't quote me on this, but like I don't know if I'm the type of person that will ever move to New York, Nashville, you know, Miami, LA.
I'm shaking my head like I'm you. I'm not making the decision, but continue.
I don't feel like that's the kind of person that I would ever want to live in those places. I could do like a couple months to do work, to do those types of things, but I would prefer to build a rich and be part of the rich community that is here. And because if we're just having like these, you know, brain dumps from, you know, everyone's leaving, you don't get to keep what's here. Yeah. So I guess part of my tenets is like, I want to be on stage. I want to be, you know, creating, have like a little bit of a product for me to continue working on, and then growing the people around me. Yeah. Because like you said, middle of like not mid-sized economy. What am I trying to say?
Class.
The middle class musician has to be a diverse player. Has to be able to do, all these different kinds of things. And that is fulfilling to me, to be able to be part of a community that I care about and cares about me.
Yeah. So to give this some more context too, so at the beginning of the pandemic, Troye Sivan, he was living in LA, and he was like, yo, like, forget this. I'm isolated. I don't have access to my community. I'm going back to freaking Australia. And that's what he did. And he released Take Yourself Home. Beautiful, beautiful song. Wouldn't be a gay anthem if you didn't have like a little booty dancing little piece at the end. Very nice song.
Yeah. I don't know. I haven't danced to it alone in my apartment, but maybe.
But no, like, such a good song. I think in his own way, he's like, also like kind of, I don't know how to say this, but like, not maybe the opposite of Lil Nas X, but definitely personality-wise the opposite of Lil Nas X, because he's like, this very soft-spoken, very like minimalist.
So I mean,
guy.
I think the best way to compare them is that what they wore to the Met Gala when they went at the same time.
Lil Nas X had how many outfits?
3 outfits and like was just over the top, like would fill the entire room, and then meanwhile Troye Sivan I think was doing like the 90s kind of like grunge, like mesh, like don't look at me but you can't look away kind of things, like very like quiet mystique, like that.
He's okay. If they're at a party, Lil Nas X is the one that's like lit in VIP and getting carried out after the Met Gala, and then Troye Sivan is like the guy that's in the corner that's just kind of like being cute, sipping his drink, like hoping somebody will notice his good vibes and come talk to him. Yeah. So that's a good, like, they're both.
Who controls the aux cord? None of that.
They're just like, just play whatever, like whatever. I don't know. Another little side note of Troye Sivan, I thought it was really cute that him and Ariana Grande, they made like a music video together.
Oh, I haven't seen it. I gotta get on.
Get on it.
Well, okay, Angela, you will always be ahead of me. You will always be ahead of me on the culture, because I will go like weeks without looking at anything new, because I just get into these like little bubbles of all I want to look at and listen to is things from like the 1950s through the 1975-ish, and I will be like, this is gold, this is what, like, that's ruminating in my brain all the time. And then I'll peek out and Angela's like, 4 albums have come out. Look at this music video. And I was like, yes, but have you listened to the Carpenters?
But there's room for all of it. There's room for all of it. I do think like how
even the fact that you're wearing the shirt that I made this in the last 6 months and I'm wearing a vintage jumpsuit. Listen. That's just how it is. I don't know. Funny. I just love the different ways that music artists open people up to their process and open people up to who they are, not just through their lyrics and their music, but really in all these different avenues like NPR Tiny Desk and So Far Sounds and other like niche experiences. There's another one I'm forgetting that I feel like I went to and I really enjoyed, but it was like a kind of like So Far Sounds-esque where it's like really exclusive, invite-only type deal. And then just, it was radio back in the day. It was radio for so long. So you really had to, like you were saying, bring the essence of who you are on the track or on the stage. That was it. Yep. There was no TV for a long time. And even when TV and music videos became a thing, it was not like really adopted really quickly, what I'm saying? And not adopted by the artists themselves.
Yeah, a lot of people didn't like it. They're like, I want the music to speak for itself and people to interpret it the way they want to. But now we're seeing...
You have to have everything.
You have to have the whole package. You cannot have a good album and then be like dry on stage. People will roast the shit out of you. You will not last. You will not last.
I don't know if the microphone caught that.
It's okay. No repeats. If you know, you know. Either you caught it or you didn't. But, you cannot have, or like be really good recording and then sound not as great live. Like you can't have one or the other.
I would say that people, when they hear my recorded tracks and then they see me live, they're like, there is a little bit of a discrepancy, mostly because of budget.
Pay artists, support local artists.
Budget-wise, of like I focus more on like having something clean, something like very commercially acceptable, like to be played wherever. Meaning that I did not have the budget to have live instruments on the tracks all the time. There's only a couple instances of it, but And then when people see me live, they're like, wow, this is way more like in-depth, dynamic, like it's more like in your face. And I was like, yes.
But I think that's more acceptable now. I don't think it's acceptable if it's the reverse.
Yes, if it's a reverse, it's like, oh,
yeah,
what did I sign up for?
Right, yeah, it's like, man, I'm jamming out my room, but then I paid X amount of dollars to see you live, and I just wasn't really feeling it.
Yeah, I would hate that. If anyone were to ever say, like, you don't sound like your track, and I don't like it, that would be very hurtful to me. Yeah. It's more be like, wow, I love listening to your music, and I jam out with it in the car, and then when I see you on stage, it's like a whole other experience.
But I think that's the beauty of the stage now, and talking about budget, people, I am excited to see and excited to hear your perspective on what live shows will look like, because there's a lot of concerts coming up. I think I've sent you like 5.
Yeah.
For Being Real.
Yeah.
Jasmine Sullivan.
Yeah, we're coming.
I don't know. Broken Bones.
I don't know where we're going, but we're coming.
Tank and the Bangers. Sylvanesso doing a specialty 2-day live set with Little Brother, North Carolina's Little Brother. Like, come on.
We have not been paid to do these promotions.
We have not at all.
We have not. It's just that like we're both like itching to go listen to music and just like take like. I mean, when you. Okay, sorry. Ask your question before I like go.
Okay, so I'm trying to, I guess, like frame it up and give it context. So again, like you were saying, you haven't performed in a long time. Waking April even revealed on their episode that, and during our talk, that they prepared so long for the live show to take their live show to the next level. Pandemic happens, no live show.
Oh yeah.
And so they're itching to get back on the stage and really make it all that it can be, and not just like a house show or a So Far Silence, but really like build it out and make it an experience that artists want to make. Yeah. So I'm interested to see like how you feel like artist packaging is going to look like and continue to evolve and grow as we head back into touring season again now that it's relatively safer to do that.
Well, the way that I look at it is that it's not just we keep going back to the mid-size. What is that word that I'm
middle class
musician? I keep going back to that because it's like the middle class musician touring and going out and playing shows and selling merch is how you make money, and so that is gone. And at the same time, the big artists also couldn't go out and do their touring, and the up-and-comers also. So the market for people who want to go out and perform is saturated. So the competition for getting those venues, for getting those opening slots, for getting like a good time is very difficult. And I think that will either push people to be more or hopefully be smart. So I hope, mostly because I don't have the budget or the time or the energy to be more or expect more from my people, I want to be smart. So like me personally planning a tour, I would say, hey, I'm going to tour with another band and we're a package deal. Yeah. So I ensure that my community is going out together. Or going to places that I have connections with, and saying like this is like creating situations at each one of those spaces and making it have more of a reason to go than just listen to music, blah 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 blah. I would want to call on like local drag queens, comedians, let's make this show something, right? Not just because I feel like we haven't been able to perform in such a long time that we can make it whatever the fuck we want. So that's how I want to approach it, but it's going to be difficult to stand out. Like on a Friday night, who are you going to go listen to? Right. On a Thursday night, who are you going to go listen to? Are all the middle class musicians going to be relegated to the Sunday through Wednesday? Like, it's hard to get people to go out. We're still in a pandemic. Like the pandemic's not over. So will we be relegated to that? I've seen a lot of people pick up residencies where like maybe the first one is not well booked and then like the regulars start coming out. Like that's a smart way of doing stuff.
Adele's residency just got canceled. Did you see?
Girl, did I see? I was crying on the live. And it wasn't just. It was like 2 weeks ago. And it was depressing and sad. And I mean, but she's being honest. And like, I think her making that call gives permission to other artists to be, and venues to be like, okay, we really do have to put safety first. Right. Like, at the end of the day, public safety is very important. So if Adele's team keeps getting sick and she can't safely rehearse and put a show together, you know, most people can't, like, because the middle class musician or like the lower class middle class musician is working 1 to 2 other jobs.
Right.
So you can't get sick and still live.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of you know, obstacles in the way of that. And when it comes to, speaking of Adele, have I told you about the thing that I want to do? Where I want to do like a North Carolina tour where I just do Adele songs.
Oh my God.
Wouldn't that be fun? Wouldn't that be fun?
That's hilarious.
I think that would be so much fun.
Yeah.
I would have, you know, my band, and then I think I'm gonna pull in. I haven't even asked him if he wants to do this, but this will be on camera. A good buddy of mine in Greensboro. You know who you are.
I think I know who it is.
Yeah, and he could play piano, and we can do duets together on a real like piano. We go to venues that have, you know, a Studio Grand or something like that.
It's giving the Lady Gaga dive bar tour.
Yes.
How do you know it's
It is so satisfying. It is so satisfying when someone just gets it. It's so rare.
Yes. But stuff like that, I just feel like
that's
the vibe.
That's what I'm talking about, creating different kinds of moments. Mariah Carey, and this is a moment. And this is a nice cut moment. I want to create more of an experience, more something that like, okay, yes, I'll sing a couple of my originals, but like, people constantly tell me when I do any song ever, like, you sound like Adele. And I'm like, yes, not because I want to be Adele, but because Adele and I grew up listening to the same music. Yeah. That's 100% what it is.
Also, can we just talk about that for a second? Like, a lot of rappers that I know, rapper producers, they hate being told who they sound like.
Oh.
How does that make you feel when people are like...
So I'm flattered, first of all. I mean, like, flattered.
Yeah.
Obviously. As much as I like it, because she's incredibly talented and we have some of the same influences, I want to be able to be known to, I mean, obviously you want to be known as for yourself, but I want people to like hear other things, not just the first thought. Right? Like, I want people to hear, you know, that I love Florence and the Machines, or that I love Regina Spektor, or like, obviously, and I love Beyonce, but like that's, or like that I love Alicia Keys, or like that I grew up listening to 60s, 70s rock from Argentina. Like, I played, so there's a couple songs that I've been working with my band, and then I was like, you know what, I feel like we're not getting it, let me play the inspiration to this song. And it was a song from a band from Argentina called Sui Generis, and when I played them that song, it was like, all of my bandmates were like, why? Like, we get it now. Like, we get it. We understand the sound, the ear that you grew up with. And so I don't mind being compared to her because it's an honor. But maybe not just the voice. Like, her, maybe not just like the choices that she makes, the styles that she does. Like, you can compare me to all different kinds of things, but also go listen a little bit deeper. I think maybe that's the thing, is that most artists, they were like, okay, great, that is the first thought, great, awesome. Dig a little deeper. Tell me what else you hear. I think one of my favorite interactions that I've had with a band that doesn't even exist anymore, but they were called the Guy Fawkes Band, and I met them in college, and it was just a dive bar, and I went in, I listened to them, and I was like, oh, this is so great, I love this. And then I go up, and this girl talked to them first, and she's like, you guys sound like the Police, you know, like Sting, and blah, blah. And they're like, yep. And then I go up, and I'm like, hi, do you like the Beach Boys? Do you like Brian Wilson? And they're like, yes. That is who we want. And I'm like, I thought so. Cool, all right, bye. Like, that's the moment that I want, for people to be like, I hear you. I know what you're trying to do. So like, yes, it can be annoying, but also like, I'm gonna play into it. I'm gonna sell some tickets. I'm gonna be the poor man's Adele for like a couple shows. You do not need to go to Vegas or spend like thousands of dollars. You can probably just come see me at your local bar that has a piano. and I will make you cry.
Yeah. So speaking of which, a little caveat here. Have you heard Alicia Keys' new album? Because you just mentioned her.
No.
Okay.
I remember it lives under a rock for a couple weeks, and then we'll come up, and then I'd be like, okay, Angela, what do I need to listen to? What do I need to watch?
Can somebody just pay me to make like music recommendations every week or something? I don't know.
Yeah, I would pay you.
Like music content.
And like food.
Yeah. That's cool. That's all I need. I just need to eat. And then she also did an Apple Music interview, but not with Zane Lowe. I can't remember his name. He's done a couple other really good interviews. He did one with, I want to say he did one with Wale. He did one with D Smoke after he won that competition. He's a good interviewer.
Cool.
He's a good interviewer. And that oh my God, you want to talk about cinematography? It looks so good.
It is good?
It looks so good. They did it in like this museum almost.
Oh, I love, was it like a clean?
So it had like this digital piece behind her.
Yeah.
That was kind of like giving this like halation, really beautiful pop of color.
What does halation mean?
Halation means like, think of like when you watch something and it's kind of like dreamy, it's kind of soft, it's kind of misty a little bit. And her skin was popping, it was glowing. I was like, okay,
She's still
yes.
on the no makeup kick?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Or like the bare skin type.
Okay, bare skin. Okay.
And then I think there was like this fossil, it might have been in Chicago, but it was like this fossil, dinosaur fossil that was hanging up.
Cool.
Art exhibition. It was just, oh my God. Highly recommend. I'm just gonna link all this below, and you guys tell me like how
I'll
much.
give you all my like deep cut references of like 60s bands from Argentina, and then she'll link to something from this decade.
But it was good. It was good, and I think she's also a really good example of someone who's been around for a long time, incredible like songwriter, and who's done some different things and really adapted to the time. I feel like she's probably the most underrated artist in terms of adapting and being open to how they show up for people, because she's one of the only music artists I know that's done a Twitter Spaces to promote her album. She did a Twitter Space. She did the Apple Music review interview, which very few artists who've been in the game for a long time even consent to doing anymore. Super vulnerable about that. Still shows up for interviews, even though that's controversial for women, and especially women who have been married to somebody like still. I forget his name. Starts with an S. But anyways. But yeah. I don't know. I just feel like Alicia Keys is a really good reference in terms of just like being that person who's adapted. And she's always also been like super low key. I'm sure she's a millionaire, but she's also been super low key.
I feel like she's reached the level of low key where she did used to do like the exorbitant, like gold on everything, long hair, long ponytail. Like she did that, and then she kind of like stepped back.
Yeah.
Because we've seen so many artists that can't survive that. That extreme high level of like this is
visibility.
Yeah. Because I'm trying to think of another artist that has been able to do that throughout the ages without any kind of break. But like, if you think about like Mariah Carey, unfortunately disappeared for a while. Like J-Lo even disappeared for a while, or like all of her, outside of. All of her personal life comes into the stuff. Lady Gaga, I feel, is the same.
Yeah.
I'm only naming women because that's what I care about. But maybe folks like Melissa Etheridge, but like even then, she's not like. Any of the. I'm like going deep into like my Liz Phair brain.
So good. But the point is, sometimes you need a freaking break. And sometimes you just need to reevaluate. Like, I feel like the pandemic brought out a lot of bigger artists who are like, yeah, I've done big things, but straight up, I don't need that to make good music. I don't need that to create an experience for my fans. They got them freaking live. They freaking made some really awesome animated music videos. They were freaking just like in their house, like on the couch, no production, just their phone, somebody's phone, just like playing their heart out. Like, you
know who we haven't talked about?
Who?
Taylor Swift.
Oh my God. I don't know if I want to talk about her right now.
But the thing is like, so I can go on record and say that like I didn't understand. Like I wasn't like an early Taylor Swift fan, but when she released Reputation, I was like, yes. I understand you are finally showing what I thought was in there the whole time. Same thing with Miley Cyrus.
Okay.
Like I was never like an early Hannah Montana, even Party in the USA phase. Like
I was, and then I flipped a switch when she did the song with Mike Will Made It. I was like, I think I'm done now.
Which one?
She did a song like with Mike Will Made It. I think it was 23 or something like that. She did it was a hip hop song.
Okay. I appreciate when people are going to show the authentic, like the glint behind the eye person that they are. And I feel like we've gotten that so much more from Taylor in the last 2 or 3 years than we did in like the whole beginning of her
But let's talk about why, because she got fed up.
Yeah, she got tired.
Yeah.
She got tired. So she was so insulated for such a long time. And so, like, I mean, she got in because of her dad. And, like the whole journey that she's had to take, she was insulated, which she was getting harmed within the bubble.
Yes.
And protected from other things outside the bubble. But... yeah, she did come out and she was more honest, and she continues to be more honest, and she's moved away from like the all girl versus girl drama and like all that shit. And now I like her and I respect her as a person, and she's made those revolutions. Like, she was a little country like pop star, and now she is, you know, changing the game with all of her re-releases and all that kind of stuff. That's super powerful.
And taking back that ownership of her master. She's like, cool, you ain't gonna give them to me? Screw it. I'll make some more. Like,
you're like,
fuck you.
And it's gonna make more.
Yeah. I know. That's a good note to end on. Make more money, pay people. Don't treat people like crap to where they have to like come at you musically. You know?
But also, if you treat people like crap and they've got the fire in there, they will kill you. like they will make you regret it. Like, and you know, she had the power and the privilege to do the things that she's been doing.
Yeah, she's like one of the highest paid one of her tours is like one of the top 20 like highest paid.
Yeah, I believe it.
Like, I think she made
because she is a good performer. Yeah,
she puts on a really big show.
She's the one that can back it up with the show and the tracks. Yeah, I can't believe I'm talking about Taylor Swift like that. Like, this is the part of like that I really have learned to like admire her journey
and her trajectory now. Yeah.
I just hope that it continues and it continues to be authentic. You know what? Who we haven't talked about that I wish was like stronger is Lauryn Hill. I feel like we can't talk about that.
What do we say? Like, how do you like release one album and then just kind of like?
No, she had her MTV Unplugged that was also very good. A mess, but good. Did you buy one of her tickets and then she didn't show up to the concert?
No,
Is that why you're
I
sweating?
did not. My friend did though. She came to Birmingham and she was like, I think she was like an hour late. But it's like you got to give her. I will say this. I do give her some credit. There's a lot of incredible Black women artists that have come out of Philadelphia, and she gave us Tierra Whack. So she was.
That's true.
Tierra Whack. She made up for that. Jasmine Sullivan, Jill Scott was also in that era.
That's true.
A lot of beautiful things came out of that space. So I will say
Tierra Whack opened for Lizzo back in 2000.
She's open for Lauryn Hill.
That makes sense.
Have you seen some of her new videos?
Not the new stuff.
See, listen, I just need somebody that can keep up. Can y'all
listen? Okay, but I watched all of Lucifer before you did. That's like inside like friend shit. Where like we haven't binged the same Netflix show, but I also haven't watched any new music videos in like a month.
So good. So good. Well,
that's just who I am.
That's okay. Well, for people who want to listen to the EP that you just released, can you tell them where they can find it?
You can find it anywhere on the internet. It's called The View From Here. I released all of the tracks as singles. So Magic, Sleeps, Stay the Heart, and Sharks. And then there's a bonus track on The View From Here. I haven't even promoted or talked about because I just like want to see what people think about it. Exclusive. You're hearing it here first. So be on the lookout for that too. Yeah. So they're all very like high concept kind of visuals, but it's all things from. They're all songs about myself and the people around me, and I hope that people see themselves and through the songs see where they're at. Yes, it does. I think that's the purpose of music. Yeah. But yeah, Spotify, Apple, all the things. You can find them. Yes. AzulZapata.com is probably the easiest way to find it. There we go. Yeah. One link to rule them all. You're just like Azul, drop a link. Say something that will help people. And I'm just like, Google me. Google me. Very Googleable. When you get to that point, it's just like, there you go. Middle class musician. Like, listen, I'm out here. Okay? I'm so easy to find. Yes. Okay, well, thank you so much for coming on today. Thank you, Angela. Thanks for having me. This is so much fun. We're going to keep talking for like 2 hours.